If I were to start my channel all over again, this is what I would do. Starting a YouTube channel from scratch can feel super overwhelming, especially now because I'm sure you're feeling like maybe it's too late or it's too competitive and it's just gonna be really hard for you to actually build your channel and build an audience. But that's not true. You're fully capable of it, and there are proven practices and models to put into place. And I teach people how to do this every single day. And people who don't even have a channel that start working with me and then grow to hundreds and thousands of subscribers on their channels. So I do know how to do this. I do know what I'm talking about. And I also have learned from my own experience with my channel. And these are all things that I wish I knew and put into practice from day one when I was starting from scratch. So I'm gonna share with you 5 things that you need to learn when you're starting your channel from scratch. And really, if you focus on these things, it's going to help you grow much further, much faster. The first thing is branding your channel. And this is because when people land on your channel on YouTube, you really have 5 seconds to tell them why they should stick around and subscribe. And because there are a lot of people on YouTube, it is competitive, you really have to knock people's socks off the moment they come to your channel. So they need to know what your channel is all about, what are you talking about, what you're an expert in, what they're gonna get out of your channel, and why they should hit that subscribe button. Why do they need to give you that validation? Why do they need to subscribe to your channel? You have to tell them what it is that you're going to give them. So what I would recommend you do is, after you watch this video, I would go to your channel and pretend you're someone first time seeing it, brand new, and think to yourself, does this tell me why I should subscribe? Does this give me any reason to subscribe to this channel based on the channel art, based on the description? And if it doesn't, you have some changes to make. Step number 2 is, I wish I knew from day one how important it is to leverage my existing audience. So whether you have one person following you on Instagram or Twitter or wherever it might be, that's one person who's already committed to you and already cares. Or if you have any email list of any size, whether it's 1 or 100,000, that's still people who are interested in your content and what you have to say. So the great thing is, and a competitive advantage to use when you're starting from scratch on YouTube, is leveraging your other platforms where you do have an audience. It doesn't matter how big or small it is. So what I would recommend you do is, with every new video that you put out, you're sharing it across all these different platforms so that you're getting more eyeballs on it than just sitting around and waiting for people on YouTube to find it. You have to create your own audience for your videos, especially if you're starting from scratch, and pull your audience into YouTube to watch your videos and get them used to the fact that this is a platform you're gonna be posting on regularly and consistency. Now, if you're sitting there thinking, but I don't have an audience on any other platforms, that's okay. Another quick kind of workaround for this is finding forums or Facebook groups that are related to your niche. Or if you do have a Facebook group of your own, a great thing to do is, if you're making YouTube videos for your ideal customer or client or people in that group, you can actually use your YouTube videos to answer frequently asked questions and just drop links so people consistently drive over to your YouTube channel. The third thing is obviously your content. Your video content does matter, but even if you're starting from scratch, the biggest thing you don't need to get hung up on is having all the technical aspects down to a T. It's really about just starting. I, for example, just started putting content out there. A lot of it did not hit. It didn't get any views. It didn't get any engagement. But I started to learn slowly but surely what my audience was interested in. And the only way to know what your audience is going to be interested in is actually doing it and putting content out there. And you'll often be surprised at the pieces of content that do hit. And the best thing you can do if you're starting your channel from scratch is asking your audience or doing research to figure out what people in your audience want to know. So here's a really interesting tip that one of my students shared with me, and she's actually built her channel from scratch to over 15,000 in the last 5 months. And she said to me, what I've done is I've actually gone to other people's YouTube channels in my space. I've gone into the comment sections, and these are big channels and they don't have time to answer all the questions in there. So I spend hours in the comment section of other people's channels in my industry and space, and I take a look at all the questions that are being asked over and over again by their community members that aren't being answered, and I'll make a video on that. So she did that for a specific topic or question that kept getting asked, and it's one of her highest viewed videos with a couple 100,000 views because she was the only person who actually paid attention to what the audience was asking and made a video serving up that answer. So it doesn't even need to be from your audience, it could be from someone else's who has a very similar audience that you're trying to attract. So starting from scratch doesn't mean that you can't get this data and can't do the research and can't ask for survey answers or get intel on what your audience wants. It's actually all out there waiting for you to look at. You just have to take the time to do the research on other people's channels, platforms, websites, FAQ sections to figure out what it is that your audience and your ideal customer really needs and wants to know. And that's the kind of video content that is going to perform really well, especially when you first get started. One prime example of this, and something that I always say, which sounds a little bit harsh, but it's the truth. When you're starting from scratch on YouTube, no one cares about you on YouTube. Same goes for me, same goes for anybody else, unless you're this big, huge celebrity who pulls over this massive audience to YouTube. So when you're starting from scratch, you have to figure out what's already kind of working out there, and realize that what people want from you is valuable content and entertaining content, educational content, and inspirational content. So if you can do one of those kinds of things, that's what people are looking for from you. It's not about who you are, what you do, and why you do it. Nobody really is here to learn your life story in the very beginning on YouTube. They really want to know how you can impact them or add value to them. So a good example of this is the cult phenomenon on YouTube, which is ASMR. Super random example, but if you know what I'm talking about, can you comment below and just say ASMR or say I know what that is? It's basically, I've never actually watched any of these videos, but I have friends who watch them. They're kind of like brain massages. It's this phenomenon of basically like this really high sensitivity audio that puts people into a sedative sort of like relaxed state. And there are millions of ASMR channels out there and millions of channels with a lot of subscribers because there's such a high demand for this kind of information and content out there. So it doesn't really matter about the person who's even delivering the content. It matters more so that they're doing exactly what the audience is requiring and expecting from them, which is this high sensitivity audio experience. So that's a very random sort of weird example to give, but that just proves to you that it doesn't even matter who the delivering messenger is of it. It more so matters that the viewer's getting what they want. So the viewer just wants the value that they're looking for, and then once you give that to them, then they become subscribers, then they build a relationship with you, and then it creates this cult following. So that's really important to understand when it comes to your video content. Now, step number 4, or the 4th thing that you really need to know if you're starting a channel from scratch, is community building with other channels. I talked about this a lot in my last video, so make sure that you check that out because I give a lot of really valuable tips on how to start community building with other channels on YouTube. And I mentioned that also earlier by paying attention to what people are asking on other channels and what's not being answered, where you can actually fill the gaps. Because as a beginner, if you can find a hole that's not being filled in your niche and you can create a video on it, it's a huge opportunity for you to explode your channel growth by creating an in-demand video that no one else has done at this point. 5th and final point is you really need to pay attention to your analytics from day 1. So you need to pay attention to what videos are getting the most views, which videos are getting more engagement than others, and most importantly, where is your traffic coming from on YouTube? What are your traffic sources? And ideally, what you want to see when you're starting from scratch is you want to see that your traffic is coming from suggested or from YouTube search. Those are the two that you really want to focus on and you want to see at the top of the results in your analytics. So there's a lot of things to look at when it comes to analytics, but those are pretty much the main 2 pieces that I focused on in the beginning to figure out where the traffic was coming from. And of course, paying attention to which videos were performing way better than others, and then continuing to make more content like that, because that's the kind of content that was generating a ton of views and subscribers for my channel that was helping me dominate one specific niche and space. And listen, I started on YouTube when there was a lot of other people out there talking about YouTube. But by paying attention to all of these steps, I was able to compete and outgrow some of the other people that were talking about YouTube. And I'm not saying that to sound super egotistical, I'm saying that because it's possible. Even if you feel like you're at the very beginning stage and you have no followers, no subscribers, You can do this. You just have to be very strategic and crafty about it, particularly in the beginning. Once you build an audience, then you have free reign to really do what you want on your channel, but you have to build an audience in the right way, particularly for YouTube, because it's a whole different ballgame, and that's gonna allow you to have that freedom later on. If you enjoyed this video, I would love to know in the comments below what your biggest takeaway was. So hit that like button, comment below, and also make sure that you subscribe for new videos every single week, because I'm sharing marketing tips and YouTube knowledge every single Tuesday. Thank you so much for watching, and I will see you in the next video.